VFL Pies go down to the KC Demons on a disgustingly cold and wet Saturday night. Let's talk about it. So, in a tune-up before the big game on Monday, Collingwood Pies VFL side took on the KC Demons, and it was just a cold, wet, rainy, just one of those nights. And Casey had it all the way through. Like, they were in the lead for the entire match. In that first quarter, it just looked like we weren't working to the conditions as well as we should be. Collingwood's usually pretty clean, but we just couldn't sort of get a hold of that ball. But in saying that, the inside 50s were pretty even, and they were pretty even throughout that whole match as well. I think that it was like -5 towards the end of the match. But we did have our chances. We did have a look in, but the balls that were coming in just weren't clean enough for our forwards or our mids to sort of do anything with that. Then you look at the flip side of that, and Casey had 9 more scoring shots than us, and they were just inaccurate, right? They kicked 7 goals 15 to our 7 goals 9? 7 goals 6. It was 9 behinds was the difference in the end. But with all of that firepower and all of that peppering at goal, you can see why they won. If they were a little bit more accurate, they would have absolutely smashed us. And they're starting to play like their AFL team, Melbourne, are, where they're starting to get a little bit good form, and now they're into that that top part of the ladder. And it would have been nice to get this one up on them. It was one that you probably mark down and go, okay, we do win this game. Then those conditions sort of happen, and we just weren't aligned in those conditions.
As we touched on, he has scaled some heights in his AFL career. This one sneaks home. Margin back to 10.
In saying that, there were a couple of standouts. So Illiru Smith kicked our first goal in the first quarter, and it looked like we were going to go to half-time without another goal, with just one goal to our name. Mason Cox comes up and kicks one. At the end of the game, when we're trying to start coming back, it was probably a little bit too late right at the end, but Mason Cox kicked a goal from 52, I reckon, meters out, and he absolutely smashed it, roosted it, and it went through like... It was probably middle goal height. It was a really nice kick. I haven't seen him kick that far before, and I know I've been pretty harsh on Mason Cox. I kicked 2 goals too today. Did as much, of the work that he could do. Obviously, Oscar Steele is the holdover emergency for King's birthday. Well, that's what we're thinking is the holdover emergency for King's birthday, because as I'm recording this, no teams have been announced yet. So it was him and Illiru Smith in the ruck. So they were going up against, Tommy Campbell, and they did the best that they could. Couldn't really, get a hold of it, and the mids for Casey were getting first use to the ball. But I thought Mason Cox, these last couple of weeks that he has been playing in the VFL, he's done really, really well. So I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him for doing that. I do hope we get to see him at AFL level again sometime soon when we sort of need him. But it's great to see, and I said this last week in the VFL review as well, that when these AFL listed players or senior listed players go into play VFL, they're not just going, oh, it's just another VFL game, I'll just hang out, I'll just do, whatever. They're actually going there and they're actually putting in work. So Mason Cox has kicked 5 goals over the last 2 weeks in the VFL. Bunch of hit-outs, helping out around the ground as well. So it's good to see that he is putting in the work.
For the Pies, this time the left foot ball is brilliant. The big man gets Collingwood's first of the evening.
Midfield was led by a couple of people. Di Mattia was absolutely everywhere. Again, 27 disposals, 3 tackles, 13 contested possessions, 5 clearances. And same with Tom Mitchell, 25 disposals, 12 contested possessions, 6 tackles, and 5 clearances. These two guys are clawing at the AFL door. It's just that because they're those inside mids, we can't take anyone out of that inside mid spot. Ned Long is doing well. Steele Sidebottom as an inside mid is doing well. Ed Allen is in the team. Lockie Sullivan is probably the only one that you would maybe take out. Di Mattia Stubble or Tom Mitchell as a sub if you really wanted to do that. I probably wouldn't. I'd love to give them full games and then maybe take them off as a sub. And I wouldn't debut a kid as a sub anyway. But I think Di Mattia keeps playing his trade as this inside mid, and he's going to absolutely go places. And I do reckon by the end of the year, we will see him debut for the senior team. I lost what I was saying for a second. The one thing that's been a knock on Di Mattia, and like I know his stats numbers are really good and I just sort of pumped him up, but it was like that training video where he had a couple of turnovers in a short passage of play. It's just his composure on the ball, and if he can just tighten up his disposal efficiency. And with Tom Mitchell as well, one of those games, wet, wombatty sort of game, I thought his numbers would be a little bit higher. Not so much disposal, but clearances, tackles, and stuff like that. So he can still improve, right? That's obviously why he's probably not in the team. Do I think these two get into the AFL team at some point? 100%. But they do need to improve just that little bit more, especially disposal efficiency for Di Mattia. And just, you want, like what Craig McRae keeps saying, you want the AFL players to play AFL level games in the VFL. And Tom Mitchell is about 75% there. Just needs to go one more step and get that aura back. We did see it a couple of weeks ago. Just needs to go again. Just get through this patch and just go again.
Trouble coming though. Edwards coughed it up. Collingwood with the re-entry. West in vacant turf. A bit of claret. He'll square things up. That showed plenty of the footy. Great mark from Steele. Second in the last two Gardner-Clark medal counts for Casey's best and fairest. He gets one against the old mob.
Rowan Steele, our mid-season draft pick, kicked his first goal against his old side, actually. So that was really, really nice. And he's doing a lot of nice things. What was that? 20 disposals, a couple of tackles, and he was doing some really, really nice things as well. Down back, especially in that second quarter when the ball was starting to dry up a little bit and there was a bit more clean possession. Joel Cochran and Jacob Ryan combined for 10 intercept possessions. Charlie Dean had a really good game, 22 disposals, and he had a bunch of intercept possessions as well. So I'm really liking what Charlie Dean is doing down back. That's probably why we didn't draft in the mid-season draft a backman. There was a pretty strong win, so that's why we were not only inaccurate a little bit, but Casey were absolutely inaccurate. In that third quarter, after halftime, we came out and we tried as much as we could. We started on fire. Casey still held an 18-point lead going into that fourth quarter, and in that fourth quarter, we did kick 4 goals to Casey's 2 goals, but in the end, it just wasn't enough.
Away by Llewell, or from Llewell by Cox. Bennett's looking for the immediate answer. He might get it through West, who plays it to Mason, and somehow they conjure a third the Pies.
It's one of those games where you just go, okay, bit of bad luck. The wind was crazy. The rain and the wet ball and then the ground, it was all sort of crazy. And Casey peppering those goals, kicking 7-15 is insane just in general. So it's just one of those games you go, okay, we dropped it. We would have liked to have won it. But we go back and we go again the next game. The AFL list of players, though, like I said, Mason Cox did really well. Mitchell, Di Mattia, Jacob Ryan, Joel Cochran as well, and Steele. And, West gave off a goal, didn't do too much. But again, it wasn't one of those days for the big forwards because Mason Cox was the only multiple goal scorer on the night for both teams, which is just absolutely incredible. But that's pretty much it. It wasn't a good spectacle, but we tried our best. What can you do? It was nice to see like the likes of Oleg Markov really leading from the front as well, which I really enjoyed. But that was a VFL game. If you watched it, let me know your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, Shackers, I'll swoop you later.